Hi, everyone. My name is Tommy Danielsen, and welcome to the first ever Miles and Points report. The reason why we're going to have this bi-weekly webcast is we're going to chat a little bit about what's current, what's happening in the world of Miles and Points, first of all, and have a little fun banter and commentary more than anything, and mostly because the FTU has been around for so long, and we wanted to have some sort of an outlet and some sort of a voice, something that we haven't had before. We don't have a blog, we don't have a forum or anything like that, but we've got opinions and we've got smart people surrounding us. And I'm not going to claim being one of them, but I have been in the industry for quite a bit of time. Was a moderator on Flyer Talk from 2005 until 2011. And had a great many friends and experiences there. Fast forward till 2010, we founded the Frequent Travel University, and have been doing events since back then, up until the pandemic. Obviously, had put a little bit of a damper on that. I think that the format that we were going to choose, we're going to talk about what's happening, current things that's going on, some commentary on that, mostly opinions. So maybe, well, hopefully we won't be like the Sean Hannity of Miles and Points. Maybe something more of a late show type of style. And of course, I would like to hear from everybody and what we should bring up. We have about 20 subjects we're going to talk about today. Sounds like a lot, but there's a lot to cover. There's a lot going on in the travel world right now. Very hard to stay informed about anything that's going on. So if you do have a subject that you would like to bring up, you can post in the FTU community group on Facebook, Frequent Travel University Community. Just search for that on Facebook, or you can send me an email at tommy@ft.events. So the guests that we have today, and what we're going to be talking about first is, hotel, the hotel situation. Right now, we're kind of seeing an intro, and I had a couple of conversations with both airline and hotels, very high level executives that are very concerned about the outlook for after this summer rush that we've seen from people who have been stuck in their house for a year and a half. There hasn't really been any business travel, and we're seeing that change. But, in the last couple of weeks, there has also been a lot of changes and cancellations in regards to that. So what the airlines and also hotels are seeing as a part of the pandemic is that bookings after the summer rush is done. Is coming down, and I wanted to, haven't traveled that much myself during the pandemic at all, for obvious reasons, mostly because people are not taking meetings, and we've got a cat who's dealing with an illness, so we really want to stay home with her for a while. But I have a good friend of mine that I've known for many, many years from my Flyer Talk days, and I stay in touch with. He's a little bit of a opinionated guy, so he fits right in here. So I'm going to bring Charles into the mix here, and we'll chat a little bit about how it is out there for you who've been traveling a lot. Thanks a lot for joining me, Charles.
Great to be here, Tommy.
Can't hear you. Is that?
There
we go.
Okay, there we go. Sorry,
awesome.
first time using the platform, so.
Cool. Well, the reason why I wanted to talk to you is because you've been out there kind of through the whole thing. You've got a really important job, and as an immigration lawyer, helping people in very difficult situations, trying to get. I'm sure that it's a million times more difficult right now with all the paperwork and restrictions. Maybe it's starting to get a little bit better, but for a year it was tough, and you were out there, staying in hotels throughout the whole thing. And that's what I thought it might be a good idea to have a little bit of chat with you and see, should we be giving these guys hell for not delivering what they're promising, or where are we now? What's the story?
Well, I think the answer is yes, because if they said, look, you're going to be getting less of a benefit, less of a product, but we're going to charge you less, that'd be one thing. But I have not seen any slacking in hotel rates. I'm paying what I was paying in 2019 or more, but I'm getting far less for my dollar. And, for a while they could hide behind the COVID excuse, but at this point, it's getting harder and harder to do so. When you're in a state that has relaxed dining restrictions, but the hotel says, oh, it's grab and go breakfast for your safety, it's a little hard to take that seriously.
Yeah, we saw and it all comes down to housekeeping, and it comes down to breakfast, the two main benefits that aren't being delivered. And we've seen a couple of approaches. The first one is Hilton Honors. They have, and I've seen a lot of spins. I see one blog out there. I think, no, you know what? I think it's the Miles to Memories guys, our friend from Las Vegas. He's got a new blogger that's writing for him. Don't remember what his name was, but he's claiming that this is such a beautiful thing. Now we have more flexibility because we got a food and beverage credit versus that. So Hilton has just cut they've always been have the gold card and you get free breakfast. And now you get a credit, which, I can see a value if you're coming in at a different time and you don't eat breakfast. But what's your take on that? Is that going to be the new norm, that we're getting credits, or is this?
I think it's going to be. Part of the problem is that Hilton, my dead grandmother's Diamond at this point. Everybody's Diamond. And so, with that, people say, I'm Diamond, it should mean something. Well, it doesn't. It's so easy to get, $450 credit card or a status match, and they keep extending it. So there's just so many diamonds. And yes, if you are not using breakfast, there's some value. And if you're on a business trip where you're catching a 7 a.m. flight, you could have a drink the night before and get $12 or $15. But the couple times I've tried to apply this to breakfast since it happened, I've come out way behind. Right. I'm seeing that even continental breakfast is over $12. And then, you're getting charged for orange juice refills. So you're easily out $30 to $40 at breakfast now.
Right. I was just looking at the Hilton Garden Inn in Napa, which is about an hour away from we live. It's my backup hotel in Napa when everything else is crazy. And we kind of have breakfast when those on a business trip, you can write it off, and most people, not like you and me who run our own business, but people who work for big companies, the majority of the people staying in hotels, they can expense that breakfast. So when it's the most important for me or for anybody that's a business traveler is when they're staying with their spouse and on a weekend. And if I stayed away from having coffee or anything to drink, I would maybe make it. So right. It's obviously that's you're right. Hilton has had a different strategy with status for many, many years. And that's kind of been their thing. The breakfast card, you have it in your wallet. It's a get out of jail free card is the way it's always been. So, what about, let's talk about Marriott for a little bit. There's been a lot of shenanigans going on over there. But they said July 1st, breakfast is going to be back and hotels can't get out of it. Is that really happening or?
Well, I think there are some hotels who are just saying we don't have a breakfast option. Right. And therefore, too bad. I was staying in the Baltimore Airport Marriott a couple of months ago, and they said, you can go to the coffee shop and pay for it. That's it. Our restaurant's not open. So right. I wonder how many hotels are going to gravitate towards that and just saying, well, if there is no option, we don't have to make you pay. And then they try to act like they're giving you 1,000 points as some, generous offer, despite the fact that 1,000 points ain't worth anything anymore.
Right. And we've also seen, Hyatt has kind of been creeping. I was reading this thread earlier today on Flyer Talk, which, Hyatt has been creeping and trying. It used to be like you could go hog wild at any Hyatt and just order anything from the menu. And I remember we were out there, me and Gary Leff and Randy Peterson and the wives were out in California at the Park Hyatt Aviara, and we kind of slipped into brunch time with a caviar buffet and all sorts of stuff, and got a credit for the 6 of us. It was over $1,000 when we were there. I obviously don't expect that to happen, but now we're seeing restrictions at hotels there for monetary stuff where you have to kind of start looking around for what to order. But they've also done other things that I noticed for one of the few business days that I've had. Look at this thing. Daily service in housekeeping. I was told at the hotel, if Elites gets service, they will come and clean your room and replenish things. But if you're not Elite, you have an option to choose not getting any service at all. And this was the first week of July. So it was kind of, recently that happened.
One of the things I've noticed with Hyatt is that, while the Hyatt places are starting to get a little long in the tooth with the old AmeriSuite conversions, their breakfast was the best of any limited service option. Right. They have not come back to where they were pre-pandemic. It's still a lot of packaged muffins, cereal boxes, Jimmy Dean breakfast type sandwiches. Right. And it seems Hyatt Place has been the slowest to come back of the limited service brands. So that's where I've noticed the benefit erosion at Hyatt.
Right. Yeah, I stayed at a Hyatt Place as well. So that's where that screenshot was from. It's the one in St. Paul, which is quite a unique property. It was a row of 10 of the rooms there were actually FBI offices back in the day. It was in the old postal building where they had agents, and the ceiling height is incredibly tall. But obviously the breakfast was, you pretty much were on point with what I got served in the morning. And that bagel that was laying around there, I'm quite sure I was there 3 weeks earlier. It was, you probably saw me post about that it was probably the same bagel that was there 3 weeks before. So I don't know what to tell you. It's, and like you said, it was exactly the same price as I paid before the pandemic.
And of course, the chains, IHG is certainly guilty of this, have used this as an excuse to go ahead and devalue their points at the same time. Yeah. So not only are we paying more, but what we earn is now worth less.
Right. The double whammy there. It's a incredibly poor timing. It pushed back on some of it, but at the end of the day, it's and also I would say in general, when it comes to status and taking care of us staying at the levels we're at without doing anything, I think that everybody did a good job except for IHG. IHG, to me, it's like I had a booking for the Monterey I buy the ambassador status because we have one place we always go every year. It costs $400 a night. So I get away with, half of that when I have that voucher for the weekend in Monterey at the Intercontinental on the pier there. And they canceled the stay and they said, come back later. We'll make sure that we can, force through the booking. And guess what? My ambassador status expired during the pandemic. And 6 months later, I called them and I said, hey, I wanted to make a booking. I said, sorry, it expired. So, that was kind of lame. It cost me a couple $100. But, what I did subconsciously there, I put them on my shit list. Are we allowed to say that? Yeah. But I put them on my poop list. And I said, well, I already said it and it's live. So there's nothing I can do about it. I usually when I go to St. Paul, and which is I go to like once a month when it's not a pandemic. I've been there 3 times in the last 2 months, and Minnesota. And there's an IHG. It's just as well priced as the Hyatt Place. And I subconsciously was like, well, the hell with them. They screwed me over on a coupon, so I'm not going to stay there I'm going to punish them for a little bit for that. So I kind of hope it was worth it. I didn't have any issues paying for reactivating my ambassador status. I just had an issue with I had to stay.
It's the principle. They made an offer and you accepted, and then they changed it later. And
right.
I can remember when I started my pandemic poop list.
Right.
I was at the Westin Atlanta airport last year, and their restaurant was open, their bar was open, and I asked about breakfast. They said you have to pay for it, and I said, but I'm titanium. They said we suspended it because of COVID. I said, but your restaurant's open. You won't even give me a coffee and a bagel, and they said no. And I said, fine, if this is how you want to be this cheap, lots of hotels in Atlanta, I can find somewhere else.
Right.
And there was an opposite. I stayed at the Marriott in Columbus, Georgia last year, October, so still pandemic, and suite upgrade, full breakfast. I said, fine, next time I'm here, this is where I'm going to spend my money.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And so what do you think? When is it going to be back to normal? When are we going to be able to get the published benefits that we've earned?
Well, let's think. After 9/11, how long did it take U.S. carriers to come back to anything approaching where they were? I think it was about 2018, 2019. We were starting to get back to the pre-2001 levels. I hope it doesn't take that long. But
To cough up a bagel for that costs 50 cents to give somebody.
Part of the issue is we got all these leisure travelers they can fleece and they can hold off on, stuff during the week. So I don't know, maybe next year, but I think we're going to be saying, like Cubs fans, maybe next year for a long time.
I hope it'll be from 1909 to for over 100 years for them winning the World Series. I hope it doesn't become that long, but thank you, Charles, for logging in. I really appreciate your feedback, and this will be up there forever. We've got people watching us right now, which I think is kind of cool on 4 different channels. So hopefully in a year or two that they'll come back and look at the first episode and my very first guest. It's always great to see you, Charles.
Thank you, Tommy. You too. Have a good night.
Cheers. You too. And we go straight into Michael, who actually introduced me to this portal. And Michael has been a dear friend of mine for many, many years. And did you get new glasses there, Sonny?
Yes, I got new glasses. You like them?
I like him, and I also like your. Oh, there's Mr. Leo. Also, the dog is behind there too. And I also, you got your.
Yeah, I have to go. I got to go down for the dog. He heard you say his name and he got out of his bed.
Of course, he was scared the hell out of him.
I know.
So for everybody who doesn't know who Michael is, he runs a site called TravelZork, and he is going to be at the FTU in Dallas and talking. He's probably my go-to source for hotel loyalty and following up hotel casino loyalty. And he's also recently started, in addition to his blog that he's had for years, TravelZork. He started he also co-hosts events with us. He has his Zork Fest and coming up in December in Vegas. And he also started a little agency that does bookings for various types of good deals for hotels and focusing on Vegas. And always when I go to Vegas, I hit Michael up because he is getting me all sorts of benefits at the hotels that I can't get myself. So what we are going to talk a little bit about this week, we've had a lot of discussion about a list that showed up. And Michael and I did a little bit of research on it. The best airlines in the world. And, I'm going to put it up on the screen here from airlineratings.com. And it turns out, Michael, that these guys right here, it's 10 guys that came up with this. Am I right? Is that what we figured out when doing a little research of who came up with this list?
Yes, because this was a list created that was judged by their editors and with a number of different criteria. Some of the criteria that I don't believe make any sense in using for judging whether an airline's good. Because one of the criteria, we were joking about this earlier. Right. One of the criteria was the investment rating for the airline. And I think I think most passengers are probably more concerned with the quality of the wine than the investment rating of
Lufthansa should be on top if that was the criteria, since the government of Germany gave them an investment of $10 billion. Or 10 billion euros to invest in their fleet and do all sorts of other things to get through the pandemic. So, but I mean, there are a lot of things. We have the Freddie Awards. We have our own frequent traveler awards. We have, Skytrax and all sorts of ratings. I think it's fun. It gives us something to talk about and to criticize. And believe me, I get probably 10, 15 emails a week about telling me how lame the frequent traveler awards are. And yet here we are being able to make conversations about it. So, let's dive into this list and see what we got here. So they put Qatar Airways on top. And to be quite honest with you, I think that, they're talking of all sorts of different criterias here. It's not that long ago since we had I'm going to take the list off for just a little bit, since we had a conversation about a pregnant woman who gave birth in the airport in Doha, and they held back all females on the plane and demanded a gynecological, what's the word I'm looking at?
You call it an examination, yeah, but that's not one of the criteria is not human rights.
Yeah, so I think that's. You know, if my wife was on that plane by herself, she would be in the age group where she could actually be forced to get a gynecological examination because they wanted to figure out who their baby was. And, you know, I know it's the airport is not owned by Qatar, but it was on Qatar, and they have the same owner. The airport is owned by the same gang as owns the airline. So, you know, Qatar, you know, they have their business class, and their business class is you know, people love it. They've got the, what is it called again? The
Q suites.
The Q suites. Yes. Everybody loves the Q suites. I don't, you know, being here in the US, I'm not wild about connecting in the Middle East to get to Europe or to Asia, anywhere else. Unless I'm going to Africa, it's kind of useless, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, what we were saying before, which is the interesting thing, is what do most people care about with regard to airline ratings? And they care about the in-flight experience, they care about the airport experience, and they care about being on time. I would say that's important. Like, I mean, no matter how good the in-flight experience is or the airport experience, if your flights are always delayed or canceled, it doesn't really matter. So, I mean, those are the criteria that I think people really care about. Other than those criteria, you know, staff relations, investment ratings. I don't.
Yeah, it's kind of something that most people don't pay attention to. I see Marshall Jackson, our dear friend from your neck of where you live right now. You live in the deep South, you know. So
is this deep? I don't know what qualifies as the deep South. I'm not sure.
I don't know either what it qualifies as the deep South, but he says that he noticed that American Airlines is not making the list. And I honestly don't even know where to start on that one. But if we dive back into the list again and take a peek at what we've got here, I mean, Air New Zealand, it kind of puzzles me a lot. They really don't have a global footprint of any kind. Their lounges and their business class is kind of outdated. And it's, you know, I don't understand how they got all the way up there since it's 10 people who supposedly flew them and judged these things. Singapore is in third, Qantas, Emirates, Cathay, Virgin Atlantic, United, which is the first U.S. carrier, up in 8th place. Why do you think they ended up there? I mean, operationally,
they're the investment rating. I don't know. Staff relations. Right. You know, I was wondering why Emirates is falling to number 5. That seems sort of odd to me, that you have Qatar and not Emirates, especially since Emirates is such a large global carrier. I would love to understand the criteria behind why, you know, like the numbers behind each of these. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I guess United Airlines is sort of curious, but I will give United credit. I mean, United's making a lot of good moves, and operationally is doing a lot better. I mean, especially when you compare it to American Airlines. So, I mean, maybe on the operational side, that's there. I mean, EVA is, I don't even know how I mean, the network is just, it's so much different.
It's extremely random. And I kind of find it interesting. Qatar does, you know, they have first class on their 380, but they really don't have first class. They have a regional stuff that they call first class, and their business class turns into long haul plane. Business class turns into first class on the 787 and the 350s when they do shorter flights. And the service is great. The offerings are great, but I wouldn't say that it stands out any more than what Emirates does. Emirates is kind of the at their home base, flying first with them. They have so many first seats in every single 380. So they have a big lounge, and you don't get help to get through security or any of the soft stuff that a good first class airline should have. Then again, moving down the list, we see that out of the European carriers, we got BA in 10th. Virgin Atlantic at 7, which is kind of an oddball carrier. What I find with Virgin is that the people that work there kind of love it, and it makes it more enjoyable because of that. Then,
but why would BA beat Lufty? that's sort of interesting there.
And they both kind of have sucky business class. I mean, BA has a new business class seat now, but they have a lot of old backward seats. I personally fit into that old BA seat very well, and I sleep well. I always get a window. I'm there by myself, and ultimate privacy, so nobody comes and bugs me. But Lufthansa has the 2+2, and this 777. I think they said that they might do it on the 350. A more modern business class. BA has started rolling out, but it's not going very quickly, is it?
No, not as quickly as everybody expected. We expected it to go more quickly because of COVID. It was a great time to do it. But BA wins on one criteria, which is just one single criteria, but does impact a lot of people, is first wing at T5 is still the best except for like Lufthansa first class terminal. First wing, where you go through first wing and you just clear through first wing, go through security, and are immediately dropped into the first lounge. It's super convenient, and it works, and it's super functional.
Which is nice if your home base is in London, but if you're connecting, you're through the whole mess with everybody else.
Exactly. The majority of BA. So I said, and I was making that as a very narrow kind of thing, because actually the experience of getting to using first wing is much better than the experience of using the flow to get to the clubhouse. Right.
I do T3. Like that. How did Hawaiian and Alaska and Virgin Australia is a low-cost carrier. No, it's not. Or are they now merged together? The Virgin Blue is now together with the long haul, or how is that working? To be honest, I haven't followed our friends down under. They've been closed for a long time. So, and then we've got Delta lurking on 19th place and Etihad on 20th. I don't know. I think that we'll agree that. I think that what's off to me here, and of course the world is more than first and business class. I mean, Lufthansa doesn't deserve to get credit for their business class. Catering is usually a snooze fest, and the seats are 2+2, and also not at all. They fixed the footsie problem now, so you have more the upgraded version of that seat is better. But at the end of the day, that's kind of it. ANA, great carrier, but they've still got a lot of planes with that business class that feels like a torture chamber. It's really hard to sleep on.
But why no JetBlue? That's interesting. Like, think about it. Why Hawaiian Air and no JetBlue? Now, I know
maybe it's because of on-time performance, because
operationally
JFK is bringing JetBlue to a halt. Their on-time performance is based, pretty much only on JFK, while Hawaiian doesn't really have, any traffic or weather to speak of. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I always wish that they would give us how the weighted criteria was, and almost like with the Olympics, give us the scoring. Right. Give us the scoring for each of the criteria and then show us the total score. So at least when you're seeing these ratings, you can see what the criteria is and you could say, okay, I get it, because this kind of list is so arbitrary when they don't tell you the criteria. I still think, my dream is to have a Michelin star in-flight and airport experience rating, where you just do it the same way you would do that. You've got the secret shoppers and you've got 10 people who just fly all the carriers, and it's in-flight experience, on time, and airport experience. And they rate the airlines. Maybe they try to do similar transatlantic segments, similar Asian Pacific segments, and they rate the airlines on that, because that's what I think people care about.
I couldn't agree more. I think that would be a good system to have. I mean, we've got really a lot of various ratings, but it seems like a project for next year. As you know, I love taking on way too much work and not being able to complete it properly. So maybe that's what we'll think.
Well, no, we can just do it. You know what we'll do? We'll do that star system, and we'll just make Jamie fly continuously.
Speaking of, we're just about to bring him in now for his chat about Mr. Credit Cards. He's going to be our correspondent for that. But I think we'll conclude with that these lists are fun to talk about. And Michael, thank you for being on the first
a pleasure
report. And I will chat with you on next week about various things.
Great. It was a pleasure. Thank you again.
Thank you. Cheers. All right, I know that my shirt looks like crap. It's blue. I don't know why it's green. You're not supposed to be green color. And Jamie has got a blue shirt too. And here he is. Jamie, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
Cool. So let's talk credit cards. I mean, we can't get away from chatting about credit cards when it comes to this kind of stuff. And we're talking about them. We're going to talk a little bit, probably mostly about American Express today and premium credit cards and stuff like that. And as we can see, I mean, these guys are pushing it to the limit, new offers, all that kind of stuff. We want to get this card that just went up in price, $125 a year from the card costs, has gone up $150 in price. And the last time I went to a Centurion Club twice in 1 week, I was told that it would be an hour wait to get in. What's the story? What do we think about that?
So I'm kind of ticked off about this platinum card, but I'll admit to you that 2 weeks ago, before the increase in price kicked in on July 1st, I actually got my second platinum card. I had the personal one, and I got the Schwab one simply to cash out all my Amex points before the Schwab thing goes down from 1.25 cents to transfer it into a brokerage account down to 1.1 cent, because I'm not really using these points at this point. So I wanted to sort of nuke them into Schwab, and then I'll cancel the personal one when it comes due. But I mean, in speaking with the lounges and all that, I mean, it's kind of useless because I tend to book flights with somewhat tight connections, right? And so I can't really use the Centurion there. I don't have a Centurion in DCA, although there's one coming. I mean, sure, I transit through Charlotte and Dallas and Phoenix and whatnot, on a fairly regular basis. But, with a connection being tight, if you're flying into Terminal A in Dallas, there's no sense in trekking to D.
Yeah, it's a haul. And also, since you fly an absolutely train wreck of an airline as a preferred carrier, you don't get value of getting access as a Delta member too. And I just absolutely love Delta. When I go to the lounges now, I don't even have to show my Amex. It's connected to my to my Amex card and my Delta frequent flyer number and rock and roll. But let's dive into a little bit into this to this card and see what we got going on here. I don't know if anybody can see this. If you're on your phone, you're SOL. But we're going to go through it. Oh, so here's your friend Andrew Kunesh. I'm not familiar who he is, but I kind of like to read upgraded points because it's a more succinct version. Or it's not this particular article, but they have succinct versions of what we have. And, it's kind of an SEO gig. It comes up before everybody else, but I do like to, you write for these guys, and I do like to use them as reference because here we have an article that's lining up $4,900 value for the per year for the American Express Platinum card that costs $695 a year. Wow, that's a tremendous value we're looking at here, Jamie.
Not really.
Okay, let's dive into it. First of all, a lot of us has this card. We've had it for years. I mean, I've had mine for probably one of the cards I've had the longest. So the welcome bonus, and we're going to have to just skip over that. Let's look at the airline lounges. And if you're, now we're kind of bound to the U.S. A lot of the escape lounges are closed. The airspace lounges, so the Centurion Lounge network is open, but I haven't been able to access.
Well, I'll tell you, it's open, but the problem is that the hours are also reduced, right? I think it was the lounge in Charlotte at one point closed at like 3 p.m. and there's similar trends at the other one. So even with them being open, I was through Phoenix not too long ago, 2 weeks ago, and the lounge was closed for an 8 a.m. flight. So even with them being open,
that's no good. And I also, the only experience I've had is that I couldn't get in Phoenix because both directions I was flying, I couldn't get in Phoenix because they were at capacity.
Right.
So what gives? I mean, it's obviously, so I'll tell you what I did. And now we're going to have the whole entire world calling in to American Express. I called Amex and I said, hey, what the hell? I mean, I don't have obviously it was, that day was a little bit of a special situation because my American Airlines flight was actually on time. So I didn't count on using a lounge. I thought I was going to have like a really short connection because, American is always late. So,
right.
But that didn't happen. I landed on time on both directions. I, almost had an aneurysm and went to the lounge and, and I was told that, sorry, you got to wait an hour. So what happened is that I was actually able to get $50 credit. I didn't use it to go into the Admirals Club Lounge. But they gave me a $50 credit for calling and saying, hey, this kind of blows. So it might be worth for you guys to try to, if you're at a place where it's chronic that the lounges are full, then, that'll be the gig that we're doing. So looking at here, the other options that you have, of course, you fly Delta, I get value for that, much more so than $1,000 is obviously a heavy duty number, but it's worth taking note that, they are axing guests. They have axed the restaurant program. So it's not a priority pass of the best quality. It's probably one of the worst, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm an authorized user on a Chase Sapphire Reserve, and that's the only reason that I'm paying that $175. I think is the authorized fee simply for that restaurant access on the priority pass.
I was not. So this is a new thing. It's a new gig that you're allowed to enter Lufthansa business class lounges when you fly with them or any of these Swiss, so Austrian, Lufthansa, Swiss, or probably Brussels also.
No, I think Brussels is excluded, but it doesn't matter. Okay,
so Brussels is excluded, but at the end of the day, for those who don't have status, I can see some value here. In Europe, kind of if you want to, you often have to step away from alliances in Europe, and it might be some value there. But for those who have Star Alliance Gold, it obviously is not. Let's talk about airline incidental credit. Well, it's not like it is with the reserve, right? Where you just anything that you put on there will be credited immediately. Anything that's travel related.
Yeah, I use my airline credit right now on the American Wi-Fi package because that charges directly through American. So I get 4 free months of, sort of the unlimited there. But, I don't have to pay for bag fees. I don't have to pay for seat assignment fees on most carriers at this point. So I just use it for the Wi-Fi. And so, maybe that's a reason to keep both platinum cards open. I can sort of get 8 months free with it if I can sort of find use of the other benefits. But for now, I would pay for that package regardless. So I guess I'm getting.
What are other good hacks on that you know about? I mean, I think Southwest, I just used to get
Southwest thing. I think Delta was working for a while with gift cards. I'm not sure if that's been shut down.
Yeah, Southwest has been working for me. I haven't. It's on my list to do. Or let's not kid ourselves. It's on Melinda's list to do. She's if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have used any of these benefits.
Yeah.
Saks Fifth Avenue. What do you think? That's obviously is a good gig in the sense that I buy, Gary Leff, my dear friend down in Texas, Mr. Debate Team. He also, we have I know I give a lot of people flack for metrosexual things, but I do have a shampoo that I buy, which is the Ass Up shampoo, and it costs $50 per bottle. So I kind of get that every 6 months, a big ass bottle. Yeah. So I get value from that for sure. Uber, yeah, I mean, I kind of, it's not in the last year, right?
No, but you can use it on
every
Uber
once in a
Eats.
while.
I mean, but I've got, I think, $20 left over my credit this month. I'm just going to go out to lunch tomorrow or something with it.
Right. You do the Uber Eats and that kind of stuff. You get Hilton and Marriott status if you don't have. And this is actually the way I dumped that card, the Hilton card. I have my Hilton Honors Gold card with them and haven't looked back from that. New of the year is, we were talking about Fine Hotels and Resort. How is that going to work with the card?
So actually, I was just looking at this last night because I'm going to New York at the end of August, and just I wanted to kill that $200 credit. The way I understand it is that it's literally just a $200 credit, right? That just comes back to your state.
Right. So it's all about finding a hotel that's reasonably priced, right?
Prepaid. Well, if you look in some off market, so right, you look in Phoenix in summer or New York in winter. I mean, you can get some decent hotels for reasonably priced. You're gonna have to pay a little bit out of pocket, but I think I'll use it.
Yeah, I think I'll use it too. I mean, we have I don't know if you know, Michael was on earlier, but we have Peñalonga, which is the Ritz-Carlton outside of Lisbon.
Yeah.
That off season, like September to March, is pretty reasonably priced, usually around $200.
Sure.
And I always do FHR there myself because it's not worth the points. It's not worth it because of the nightly credit there, and you also get the breakfast and everything, and $100 or 85 euros to spend. So I would say that there is value. And we talked about this when we were traveling for business together in Minneapolis. We were talking about Clear, and I told you that Clear kind of doesn't do it for me because my home airport, it kind of is fine.
Yeah.
And you saved 7 seconds in Minneapolis. Is it, if I was paying $179, I wouldn't do it. And I was like, forget it. I'm not doing it. I wasn't doing it when pre-pandemic or anything. And I'm certainly not doing it during pandemic. What's your thought on that?
So, I mean, it gives you the full credit. So at this point, I don't think there's a reason not to do it, right? But whether it's worth it honestly depends on the airport. I think I get decent value out of it, although DCA can have some decent pre-check lines. So for me, I get value out of it, although to be honest, there are so many ways to get clear on the cheap, right? If you've got Delta status, if you've got...
You get a discount.
That it's kind of watered down and pretty much everybody has it at this point. So I don't know that I consider it, worth the $179, but I mean, at this point, free is free, but it really, I think depends, like you said, right? You're in Sacramento. You don't really get use out of it. I
just haven't been in a situation where it has paid off for me. I was looking at various blogs talking about this. So I signed up for it because it's free. What the hell? I mean, we got DC coming up. We got a couple of events there. We got some business going on in DC. What I saw from DC is that there might be some lines and it might be worth it in your home airport, right?
Right.
So I signed up for it, right? I signed up for it. It's free. And I signed up through my lifetime platinum with United. Yeah. And I noticed something, and I read out there that if you get 109 for that as the price, and then you've got if you do a companion for $60, it's 169.
Yeah.
Well, so I saw, where did I read that? Oh, Thrifty Traveler. Nick Cerati was writing about that he gave a shot. I did it myself, and I got to tell you, I don't think you actually, not so far, unless it has posted, because this was very recent. But look at this. So I paid 109 plus 60, and I got a credit back for 109, but I did not get a credit back. This is 2 days ago. It says pending, so maybe I'll get it back later. But it looks like for my companion that I'm going to have to, pay for that. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Everything that I've heard is that it's up to 179. And so, in fact, I have the green card in addition to the platinum, and the green card gets a credit as well. And so, due to, I don't know, I think I'm on a family clear membership, or it might be through Delta. I'm not sure what subscription it's under. I think I have to pay $10 up to this point, right? Up to the platinum introducing it as a benefit for clear. So, right, I'll just pay the $10, use it up on my green card, and I don't know, get my parents one on my platinum or give it to someone else as a gift, right? But everything that I've heard, it's up to 179. So you could...
it says so. It says credited up to 179. So we'll see. Now, for me, this looks like, they were charged at the same time, at exactly the same time. I got credited 109 back. I'll report back in a couple of weeks when we're doing our show in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Sapphire Reserve and Preferred. We're gonna you and I are gonna cover in a couple of weeks. So what do you say? Are you keeping your platinum American Express?
Well, I mean, now that I have two of them, here's the thing. I think it's kind of it's one of those situations where if I canceled it, I would regret it. Am I overpaying for it? 110%, right? But it's one of those things in life. Am I overpaying for my apartment in DC? Yeah, I'm overpaying for that too.
Well, I don't know. More than I have a mortgage for my house in California.
Well, yeah, there you go. I think I'd regret it if I canceled it. That's the problem. And so am I getting the $695 value? I don't know. Maybe if I am, it's coming up pretty close, but it's one of those situations where I think if I canceled it, right, something new would come out, whatever. But what I don't think is that the new benefits that have come out offset that increase in the annual fee. Especially, I'll tell you what, last 2 days, I have sat on hold with Amex trying to purchase tickets for the US Open, upgraded tickets, right, in a box suite, because I was going to get it for my parents. And I have sat on hold literally every minute of the day with that hold music. And all I keep getting a runaround is, we're short staffed, right? And so if they want to charge this fee, they need to get some people in there in addition to all these benefits.
And
right?
Also get more capacity for those lounges and also open them up all the way, especially when the fees are already in effect.
Exactly.
Here's how I feel. I feel like I wouldn't have gotten clear. I wouldn't get, so I do have Peacock. I stream with that. That gives an instant, that is a value to me because I pay $11 a month for that, right? So that right off the bat, I also have the New York Times that I subscribe to. and it comes in as a thing that I do, and I'm keeping it, but mostly because it's right now I kind of don't want to mess with that, and what else am I going to get, and Melinda and I are kind of divide and conquer on it. So I'm keeping it. I say that it's worth it. And especially now that you get 100,000, 150,000 or whatever, the sign-up bonuses are crazy right now. So if you don't have it, I say
the bonus on the Schwab one, I don't know if it's still live out there, was 100,000 plus it was up to 10, not up to, it is 10 times the points on restaurant and small business spend within the first 6 months. So Gary wrote an article on this too. I mean, it's up to 250,000 additional points in addition to the 100 from the bonus. So from that standpoint, it's
it's a no-brainer at this. I don't know if that one's available, but I do know that the 100,000 is available. And that's pretty much it. So thank you for your insight, Jamie, as always. We're going to talk in 2 weeks about the reserve and the preferred. If Chase is now, are they out of the game? Is it over? Are they going to, get going? They need to get caught up.
City's out of the game, but we'll see about Chase.
We'll talk about that next week for sure. Thanks so much for coming on and stopping by, Jamie. Thank you. All right. Now we're going to do a very interesting segment. And this segment is going to be us commenting on what happened in the last week and a half or 2 weeks in the miles and points world. So we call it the week in review, and I have decided to bring on a really good friend of mine, a dear friend of mine that I've known for many years, who is calm and composed. We are best buddies, except when it comes to politics. But John is a hell of a guy that knows a lot of follows things from the sideline, and we want to hear his opinion. So, John, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Well,
how's it going down in on the beach?
Usual hot and sticky, East Coast humidity.
Ah, beautiful. Yeah, you got to love that.
But as I mentioned, I was up in the tree today. You want me to use that line yet?
The what?
I was up in a tree today. Do you want me to use that line yet?
We got to get some jokes. Yes, we got to have it.
Well, we have a fig tree, and my official job title now is, try and get this right, fig plucker. Try saying that 4 times in a hurry.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it's unbelievable what a marriage makes you do. Fig tree. Huh? Be careful so you don't break your neck there. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening in the miles and points world. And right now, it's all what we've seen. I've talked to a couple of really good friends of mine that are high up in the airlines in the financial part of it. And it's not looking good for the fall. It just is not. It's we've got the vacation travelers. When school is out, bookings are dramatically low. So we saw the first thing happening we're going to talk about Delta first. Delta is a carrier. You fly Delta a lot, don't you?
I had Diamond for years.
Yeah, Diamond for years. I did a match, and looks like I'm going to make it for Platinum. I'm not interested in doing anything more because I love being a free agent. But let's talk a little bit about Edward. Not Ed Pizzarello, but Ed Bastian. He is apologizing for the long wait hold times. So what's wrong with these guys? They've always been on point, and they are great to every customer, not just the ones who are high up in the status chain. They're obviously suffering from getting people to come back to work. What are they, not paying people enough?
Well, I think it's a reflection of the economy in general. There's all kinds of restaurants and other businesses that are dying for help, but I think it'll recover. If anybody does, Delta has a track record of eventually getting it sorted out. So
I agree. I could not agree more that obviously I think it's a combination of many things. The economy, of course, is one thing, but I think that also this is kind of a big reset on everything. Everything is a reset, and status is a reset. Loyalty is a reset. Jobs are a reset. People pay dirt. You know what they say: if you play peanuts, you get monkeys, right? So, it's kind of a thing where there are a lot of hold times. I mean, I am having a hell of a time with Salesforce which is, I think, has taken over as the worst company in the entire world. Like any bank or American or whatever the case may be, it's the worst company in the world. They have shut down their billing department. You call and I don't know how much revenue do they have, like 40 billion a quarter or something, or like it's a huge company. They just bought Slack and stuff. And you call, and I call, you can't change subscriptions. I wanted to go to an annual subscription for our CRM system, and you can't do that online. You got to call. You call, and it's like, hello, welcome to Salesforce. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we shut our offices down. You're going to have to send us create a case online. And that was a month ago. I'm still not on annual billing. So, but here we're talking, Delta seems to be kind of lagging, and everything else seems to be going okay. They've taken the pandemic very seriously, and now we are looking at, he's promising, Ed is promising Delta to come back, and that's all good in the hood. We are going to talk a little bit more about Delta. They just extended an elite status through all of next year, so that came a little bit as a surprise to me. I wasn't aware. I mean, now that the pandemic is kind of back, we're seeing that Delta is the first one, and they're doing it because the bookings for the fall, it's not looking good, and it's not looking good for people to renew either. So, does this surprise you a little bit that they came out so quickly and renewed the status and with no effort at all?
I can't remember a year ago last spring, whenever it was, if they were the first to do it, but I'm not too surprised. And the people I discuss all this with online and elsewhere, it was sort of 50-50. Everybody was hoping it would happen, except those who have actually qualified the hard way. But yeah,
I was a little bit surprised, to be honest with you, because I really don't fly that much. I've taken 3 business trips in the last 2 months, and which is very, very, very low for me. And I've taken 1 personal trip, and then Polly got sick, so we got to stay home for that. But she gets a shot every day, and it requires an effort for us to get that going. So we had to cancel our plan, not because of the pandemic, because of that. And I was kind of on track, because Delta gave you some good incentives on earning pretty quickly. I saw my numbers were going up quickly from just flying to Minneapolis and back, and a couple of other destinations and SoCal and stuff. And it was just really, it was chugging along. It wasn't looking like it was going to be an issue. So, and all of a sudden, boom. And the question that everybody's asking, will the other ones follow? And I say, yes, they will. Absolutely. There's no way that United or American are in a better position than Delta are in financially now compared to, there's just no way. I don't see that happening at all. Looking at the share prices, it's just, we're not seeing any better numbers coming out of them. But what do you think? Is it going to be another bailout?
This economy is so unpredictable. They just keep printing money and tossing it out and seeing what happens. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't know if it's necessary. Delta actually showed a profit last quarter.
Right. I was speaking with a hotel this morning where we're planning on doing an event next year in March. And they were like, we are not seeing any business meeting bookings, which, conferences and business meetings, that's the biggest revenue driver that a hotel has. Like, there is literally no other revenue that's bringing back more. A conference like an FTU for a week, and that's a revenue for a hotel, $30,000-$40,000 for just a small conference for us who are very careful with money. And think about all these other ones that are ordering all sorts of steak and lobster and fun stuff that we should have had. If everybody is okay paying for it, I'll order steak and lobster. But since you guys are not, then not so much. But they are concerned. They're very concerned about the bookings we're seeing after the summer rush of people going on who have been stuck in their house for a year and a half. They're finally back and they're doing their stuff, and they're going to do it. That means, another financial hit for the entire economy.
Well, they've already improved their loyalty programs. Well,
yeah, I mean,
somewhat.
it doesn't get easier than not right now. You've got tons of opportunities and tons of campaigns. Let's move on to the closest we're going to get to politics today. Actually, we're not going to talk about politics, but I read an article this week from Matthew Clint's blog. He didn't write it. It's Kyle Stewart, and Kyle, he spoke at an FTU with his wife, I think, a couple of years ago before all this fun started. And he wrote a open letter to Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. And Pete is I would venture into saying that he's going to be president one day. I think he is. He's a likable fella, and he's got kind of the Obama vibe. And I'm not going to talk about politics. I just say that he's a likable guy. And I think that, I was a little bit of a fan of his because he's a straight shooter and he is, a gay Catholic guy. I don't know about that, but at the end of the day, he's honest about who he is. And I like that a lot. So, but we have a big transportation plan, and the focus of this thing is to hold airlines and mistake fares and, directives, blah, 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 DOT, not honoring mistake fares. That's what you're writing the secretary about. And I find this article to be a little bit comical. There's about that piece of it. But another thing that I kind of like is resort fees. But I don't know if that's kind of in his purview. Maybe it is because of the rules and laws and regulations on that. If I were to get his ear, I don't highly doubt that he will read this. But if he does, why would you ask for these things and focus on these things? I mean, the resort fees are always, worth focusing on, but you have a simple opportunity there to just, not stay at a hotel that has resort fees, or resort fees, maybe not, but, destination fees are kind of what's creeping into other areas. So did you have a chance to read this? What do you think of what Kyle wants Buttigieg to focus on?
Well, I'm all for transparency in prices, but what struck me is most of the general public doesn't fly, and some of them stay in hotels, a lot of them don't. And the focus on this is just so narrow in scope that, again, I'm all for price transparency, and if it's black and white what it's going to cost, that's great. But it's a very small issue for most people.
Not a lot of people are focusing on. I think that the price creep is just the creeping of prices is super annoying. I think that Gary, let me show you this here. Gary Leff, our dear friend Gary, you remember him? We haven't seen him in a while. Let's see. He wrote about it that this Marriott in Fort Wayne, Indiana, is charging an energy surcharge. So that's obviously another thing that kind of is coming in. So yes, transparency is good, but what's lacking in this, and we didn't rehearse this in advance. What's your take on spending $100 billion on railroad?
We're not Europe.
Pardon?
We're not Europe.
We are not Europe. That's true.
We have big, wide open spaces to travel, and Americans aren't going to give up their cars unless gas goes to European prices. And even then, I mean, train travel.
I think that
some train travel is good.
We're seeing the only area that's kind of seeing a profitable is on your neck of the woods, a little bit north of that, with the Acela from DC to New York and to Boston. But obviously the restrictions that you have with those trains is that they're really not going very fast, are they? And there has to be an advantage. In order for somebody to buy into something, there has to be a reason why they should. So, for example, here where I live in Sacramento, or actually outside of Sacramento, I live in Placer County, which is a red county. little rural, and it's a little bit, on the edge of stuff. And I sat in on the transportation commission meeting here on Zoom here. I don't know why I wasted an hour and a half of my life on that. And it's just mind-boggling how what the ideas are. They're going to do in order to get people moved around, they're going to have a publicly owned fleet of minivans and drive them to various bus stops. Or it was mind-boggling. So you're saying, yeah, we're not Europe, but we're here we have 2 high-speed rail projects in the US or two and a half. We got the one in Florida, 125 miles an hour, diesel locomotives, not very comfortable, not very fast. But it's, a good idea that now you can land in Orlando, go walk on the train and get into the middle of Disneyland, Universal Studio, Epcot and all that, and be in the middle of it, walking distance shuttles to all hotels. So you don't have to, so people don't have to rent a car and do all that stuff. And obviously what's ignored in that area is that the congestion is obviously costing a ton of money. And that I see the value in. And that's a privately funded railroad. And they're also thinking about opening up between Vegas and LA. Brightline, the same company, also privately funded, with desert. So I don't know how hard it can be to build that. But then you have Texas, which are a project with the guys who run the Shinkansen in Japan, which is, obviously a very successful train network where you get between big cities in super high speed. And that project looks like it's going ahead, fully privately funded. You can get from Dallas to Houston in less than half the time it takes to drive. And which I can see value in. If there's a huge upside, people are going to buy into it. Same here. I mean, from here to go into it's when there's no traffic, it's an hour and 45 minutes for me to drive to San Francisco, or to San Jose. It's like 2.5 hours. Real estate is, well, it's a little bit nuts now. Our house has gone up almost 80% since we moved in here 4 years ago, but nothing compared to what it costs to live in that area where most of the high tech industry is. It's the same distance between Hanover and Hamburg, which takes 39 minutes. Here, you leave at 6:47 and you arrive at the ferry building in San Francisco at a little bit after 9. So it takes 2 hours and some change. Of course, there's traffic, and that's the thing. People are, if we could move people around, like Marshall is just saying, high-speed rail has regional application in the USA. DC, New York City, Boston, probably LA and San Francisco, and a handful of others. I would venture into saying there's 3.5 million people that lives here. And if we could live here and we could work in the Bay Area with much higher paying jobs, I think that has something to do with, and that's what my point with the whole thing with Pete Buttigieg. That's what I would talk to him about, because Railroad Biden has, kind of not focused on that. Oh, we're going to repair the tracks. And it's like, who cares? You're going to repair something that is losing money, and you're not doing anything smart with that money. I say the whole rail issue is just debt. I mean, I wouldn't spend what they're planning on spending $80 billion on. It's like they should give it to me. I would spend it a lot better than they would. And you were invited to that party.
Yeah. Most of the rails themselves are owned by the private train companies too.
Right. And that's the problem, right?
Passenger trains have to pull over and get out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole system's kind of goofy, but I agree with Marshall that regionally there is some potential.
Yeah, if I could park my car, charge it, get on the train, and 39 minutes be in LA and go to dinner, that's the same amount of time it takes for me to drive to downtown Sacramento with crappier restaurants and not that exciting. And and also the whole taunting thing of sitting the Bay Bridge that costs, a gajillion dollars, like $9 billion or something insane. I don't know. I just, I think that regionally we should do more than that. And I think that, Marshall, you work for the government, don't you? Are you still here? You work for the government. You get on that. Get on it. talk to this Buttigieg guy and screw all the my mistake fare didn't. You got to do. DOT says that you should honor mistake fare. Come on, give me a break. Let's see. What else were we going to talk about? We were going to talk about. I had one more subject. Oh yeah, hotel reviews. Oh my goodness. Did we have, and everybody who knows me knows that I love the Park Hyatt Vendome. And I don't love it because it's have you ever stayed? You've never stayed there?
I've never been. The closest I've been was a youth hostel within a few blocks about 40 years ago.
Right. This is the last time you were in Paris?
I defer to you.
Right. Yeah. So that's the last time you were in Paris 40 years ago?
No, but that's the last time I was anywhere close to it.
Cool. Yeah, so I like going there. And actually, it's funny because it's that Andrew Kunesh guy who we were quoting earlier for the upgraded points article with claiming that the new Amex Platinum card is worth $4,800 a year. He actually wrote, he had, honestly, so what do you feel about the points guy? We both know Brian. We've met him many times. And, remember we were in LA with Rick Ingersoll, not the pudding guy, the frugal travel guy. And we were there for that launch party. And Brian is a dear friend of ours. And I like him better than anybody in this industry for sure. He is truly made himself, but I don't know how much involved he is. These hotel reviews I've been reading lately from the points guy. Yeah, I don't even know. It's like, so what do you think a criteria should be for being able to give a recommendations and write a hotel review? It's like, well, I guess, here I am on this webcast. Any asshole can pay $400 for a streaming service and talk as long as they want. But what do you think?
Well, not everybody's going to qualify for a suite. Not everybody's going to want to pay for a suite, either,
right,
with points or cash or whatever. So I think there's some use in, all kinds of reviews.
Right.
And there are bloggers who specialize in that sort of thing.
Well,
but the impression I got from him and that property and the impression I've gotten from you and that property are, about 180 degrees apart.
Yeah, which is a good thing. Opinions are great, but I think that it's important to realize that the reason why a lot of people, including me, are staying there over and over again, it's because the value is just insane. I mean, you get $1,000 hotel room that you get for 30,000 hotel points, which are easily obtained through the Hyatt credit card or by regular staying points and whatnot, right? And you can transfer over. Yeah, so you get access to. The breakfast alone costs, $130, $140 a day. Is it worth it? Well, it's a high quality stuff and it's very simple, but high quality. But I think that, it's kind of interesting that they put a guy who his second review on the points guy, actually the only two reviews I was able to find that he has written on hotels. He stayed at one hotel in Paris first, and then he stayed at the Park Hyatt Vendome after. And yeah, and they kind of redid the hotel just 3 or 4 years ago. So it really isn't, I don't really know what he's talking about. But I think that, at the end of the day, you can clearly see that it shines through that he stayed at that other hotel and he got a suite because he had status, but at the Hyatt he did not, but he wasn't a guest of honor reservation. So he wasn't upgraded. He got a standard room. And if you get upgraded, the review is great. If you don't get upgraded, it's crap. So that's what my takeaway from that. But yeah, we're going to be we'll let it slide for now, and think that Andrew we'll look for his hotel reviews and follow him in the future. I don't know who he was until today when I started reading around what we're going to talk about, and yeah, and looking at the pictures. I really want to go back. What's your next trip, John?
At the moment, I don't have one.
Really?
I expect I'll go places this fall, but I just haven't gotten that far. I'm just not interested in participating in all the hoops you got to jump through to go anywhere.
Right. But Dallas, we're going to meet in Dallas for the FTU, I'm sure.
In September?
Yeah.
I can do that.
Barbecue? And
I'll have what Melinda's having.
You'll have what Melinda's having, yeah. So nothing. Nah, you're in Texas. In Texas, we only eat things that had parents. So we'll find something for you guys as always. But yeah, we're way over time. We're way over time, and it looks like we've had some people attend. Maximum of 26 total on all the various channels, which I think is really cool. Hope the conversations were fun. In a couple of weeks, we're going to come back and chat a little bit more on Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be chatting again, and what we find interesting in the miles and points world. So thank you, John, for joining.
Thanks
And
for having me.
I'll see you hopefully in Dallas, Texas. We'll paint the town barbecue saucy. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We have our FTU, our first comeback with FTU. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas, the September the 11th weekend. I hope to see you guys there. We just launched a sale with $30 off. If you have a FTU annual membership, if you're one of our 1,200 members, annual members, you can use your $49 coupon for that event too. So it puts it at let's see, it's $49 off. So it'll be $200 for to attend with that coupon. Or we have a sale right now where it's $30 off, and it's going to be a really cool FTU. It'll be our first one back after a long time. Don't worry, there will be safety precautions, meaning that we're following the mandates that are there, and we actually have we are following the local laws of the land. So don't worry about that. And the speakers for this one particular one, we're excited about. For the first time, we're going to have Brandon and Neth be a speaker for us. He's quite the charismatic guy. I absolutely love this kid. He's not a kid anymore, but he's going places. He is a writer for Finance Bus. We're going to have Michael Traeger. We're going to have our friend Matthew Clint from Live and Let's Fly, one of my absolute favorite of the big bloggers. Sunitra Holbrook from the Points Guy. Andrew Solomon, which is a Reddit guy. We're getting some Reddit guys to be at FTU. He's going to talk about churning and that kind of stuff, all that top secret stuff that they talk about on Reddit now. We're going to have Dave Grossman, who's coming in from Miles Talk. Marshall, who was in the comment field, is here as well, who is going to talk about cruises. We have Andy Luton, probably the best photographer in the whole world. We got Derek Lee, who is flying with Moxie. Our guy is really special. He's going to show us about the secrets of the Asian loyalty programs, the good value, phenomenal value. We did an FTU online session on that a month or two back, and a couple of new guys, Sarah Touchstone and Matt Diggs, also in Dallas. So join us on the me again in 2 weeks from today on Thursday at 3 p.m. And remember also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get to know when we got new stuff out there. The cool stuff, I'm going to put up some old videos that we found in our archives, which is going to be the Points Guy and Gary Leff presenting online sessions that we did, or video sessions from tips and tricks from 2012 and 2013. I'm going to put up this coming week on the channel. And we'll see you then. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.